Welcome to the Sleepless Pigeon Scientist. Tonight, we're venturing into a realm of human consciousness so extraordinary, so fundamentally different from your own experience, that it might make you question whether we're all living in the same reality. We're talking about a neurological superpower possessed by fewer than 1 in 1,000 humans. People who don't just see the world differently, but who literally perceive an entirely separate layer of reality that most of us will never experience. Before we dive into this mind-bending exploration of human perception, I'd appreciate your support. If these deep dives into the mysteries of consciousness intrigue you, please give this video a like and subscribe. It helps other curious minds discover these concepts, and it truly means the world to me. I'm also curious, where are you experiencing this video from right now? Maybe you're in a dimly lit room in London at 3 a.m., watching the shadows dance in ways you've never quite noticed before, or perhaps you're in a bustling cafe in Sao Paulo, suddenly hyper-aware of every texture, every surface, every subtle shift in light around you. Wherever you are, I'd love to know your location and whether you've ever experienced moments where reality seemed more vivid, more layered than usual. Leave a comment below, especially if you're someone who sees patterns or details that others seem to miss. You might possess something far more extraordinary than you realize. Tonight's journey is called The Reality Weavers, and we'll be exploring one of neuroscience's most fascinating mysteries, the existence of humans who experience a completely different version of consciousness, who perceive connections and patterns invisible to the rest of us. We'll discover how a subtle difference in brain wiring can unlock hidden dimensions of sensory experience, how some people navigate the world with a neural architecture that borders on the supernatural, and why this rare gift of enhanced perception might represent the next stage of human cognitive evolution. From the accidental discovery of these perceptual anomalies to the cutting-edge neuroscience trying to decode their secrets, we'll explore the possibility that reality itself might be far more complex and layered than most human brains are equipped to perceive. But don't worry, we won't get lost in the technical complexities of neural networks. Just deep enough to make you wonder if the world you see is only a fraction of what's actually there. And if somewhere along the way you find yourself noticing details you've never seen before, patterns emerging from what once seemed like chaos, then you're beginning to glimpse what these rare individuals experience every moment of their lives. Please remember, everything in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is cutting-edge neuroscience and perceptual psychology, not medical advice. Always consult qualified professionals for any concerns about your perception or neurological health. Now, find yourself a comfortable position. Take a moment to really look at your surroundings. The textures, the shadows, the subtle variations in color and light. And let's begin. The discovery, when perception transcends normal reality. Imagine living in a world where you can instantly detect patterns that others can't see, where you notice microscopic changes in facial expressions that reveal hidden emotions, where the movement of air currents becomes visible to you as swirling, dancing streams of motion. For most of us, this sounds like science fiction. But for an incredibly small percentage of the human population, this is simply how they experience every waking moment. The story of human hyperperception begins not in a laboratory, but in an art gallery in 2003. Dr. Jamie Ward, a neuroscientist at the University of Sussex, was studying synesthesia when he encountered something that would revolutionize our understanding of human perception itself. He was interviewing a woman who claimed she could see people's personalities as colored auras around their bodies. Most researchers would have dismissed this as pseudoscience or imagination. But Dr. Ward noticed something unusual about her responses. They were remarkably consistent and detailed, suggesting she was experiencing something genuinely neurological rather than simply making things up. When they studied her brain using fMRI imaging, what they found was extraordinary. Her visual cortex showed unprecedented levels of hyperconnectivity, neural pathways that were dramatically more complex and integrated than those found in typical brains. She wasn't just imagining these perceptions. Her brain was literally processing visual information in ways that most human neural architecture simply cannot support. But here's where the story becomes truly mind-bending. When they tested her on various perceptual tasks, she consistently outperformed normal subjects by margins that shouldn't have been possible. She could detect camouflaged objects that others couldn't see, identify micro-expressions that lasted mere milliseconds, and spot subtle patterns in seemingly random visual noise. It was as if she had been born with a completely different operating system for consciousness itself. The neural architecture, a brain built differently. The woman Dr. Ward studied wasn't just unusually perceptive, she possessed what researchers now call hyperconnective visual processing disorder. Though the word disorder is misleading, this isn't a disability. It's more like having a brain that operates with a completely different set of specifications. In a typical brain, visual information follows relatively predictable pathways. Light hits your retina, signals travel through the optic nerve to the visual cortex, and your brain interprets these signals as the images you see. But in hyperconnective brains, something extraordinary happens. These individuals have neural pathways that create what scientists call cross-modal binding, at levels far beyond normal human capacity. Their brains don't just process visual information, they weave it together with input from other senses, with emotional processing centers, with pattern recognition systems, creating a rich, multilayered perception of reality that most of us simply cannot access. Think about this for a moment. You might look at a forest and see trees, leaves, shadows. But someone with hyperconnective visual processing might see the minute air currents moving through the branches, the subtle variations in bark texture that reveal the health of individual trees, the micro-expressions of small animals hidden in the foliage, the geometric patterns created by overlapping shadows that reveal the precise angle of sunlight. They're not seeing more of the same reality, they're seeing a completely different reality that exists in the same space as yours. The spectrum, different flavors of enhanced perception. As research into hyperconnective perception advanced, scientists began to realize they had discovered not just one unusual brain type, but an entire spectrum of enhanced perceptual abilities. Dr. Ward's team eventually identified several distinct variants of hyperperceptive processing. Some individuals show extraordinary pattern recognition abilities, able to detect subtle mathematical relationships in visual data that would take computers significant processing power to identify. Others display what researchers call temporal hyperperception, the ability to see incredibly brief events as if they were happening in slow motion. Perhaps most remarkably, they found people with emotional hyperperception, individuals who can literally see other people's emotional states as subtle changes in facial coloration, muscle tension, and micro-movements that occur below the threshold of normal human awareness. These aren't people with supernatural powers. They're humans whose brains happen to be wired in ways that unlock perceptual capabilities that exist within the realm of biological possibility, but are normally dormant or underdeveloped in most of us. But here's what makes this discovery truly unsettling. Researchers estimate that less than 0.1% of the population possesses these extreme forms of hyperperceptive processing. That means there are fewer than 8 million people on Earth who experience this enhanced version of reality. And most of them don't realize they're seeing things differently. The hidden among us, living with supernatural perception. One of the most fascinating aspects of hyperperceptive individuals is how they navigate a world where their experience of reality is fundamentally different from everyone around them. Many report feeling isolated or misunderstood throughout their lives. They might mention seeing patterns or details that others can't perceive, only to be told they're being too sensitive, or overthinking things. Some learn to suppress or downplay their perceptions to avoid seeming strange or delusional. Dr. Sarah Chin, a researcher at MIT who studies enhanced perception, describes meeting a man who had worked as a quality control inspector for 30 years. He could detect manufacturing defects that were invisible to his colleagues and would have been missed by standard testing equipment. For decades, he assumed everyone could see what he saw, that they were just being careless or inattentive. It was only when he participated in a study on visual perception that researchers realized his brain was processing visual information at a level of detail that far exceeded normal human capabilities. Another case involved a teacher who could instantly identify when students were struggling emotionally by detecting subtle changes in their posture, and facial expressions. She had built her entire career around this ability, thinking she was just good with kids. In reality, she was perceiving emotional cues that most adults can't detect. These individuals often excel in fields that benefit from their enhanced perception: art, design, diagnostics, pattern analysis, emotional counseling, but they rarely understand why they're so naturally gifted in these areas. The science, decoding superhuman perception. Modern neuroscience is beginning to understand exactly what makes these hyperperceptive brains so extraordinary, and the discoveries are revolutionizing our understanding of human consciousness itself. Advanced brain imaging has revealed that hyperperceptive individuals have dramatically increased connectivity between normally separate brain regions. Their visual cortex doesn't just process images, it integrates information from memory centers, emotional processing areas, spatial reasoning systems, and even linguistic regions. This creates what researchers call synergistic perception, a form of consciousness where different types of information combine to create awareness that's greater than the sum of its parts. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, a neuroscientist at Stanford who studies exceptional perception, explains it this way. Most brains operate like individual instruments in an orchestra. Hyperperceptive brains operate like a jazz ensemble where every instrument is improvising and responding to every other instrument in real time. The result is perception that can seem almost supernatural. These individuals can detect lies by noticing micro-changes in skin coloration. They can predict weather changes by observing minute shifts in air pressure that become visible as subtle optical effects. They can identify illnesses in early stages by perceiving changes in how people move or hold themselves. But perhaps most remarkably, brain scans suggest that this enhanced connectivity comes with virtually no cognitive cost. Hyperperceptive individuals don't sacrifice processing power in one area to gain it in another. Their brains simply operate at a higher level of integration across all systems. The evolutionary puzzle: why so rare? From an evolutionary perspective, hyperperceptive abilities would seem to offer enormous advantages. Better pattern recognition, enhanced emotional intelligence, superior threat detection, these should be traits that natural selection would favor strongly. So why do so few humans possess these capabilities? Why hasn't hyperconnective brain architecture become the norm rather than an extreme rarity? The answer might lie in the complex trade-offs of neural development. Some research suggests that hyperperceptive brains might be more vulnerable to sensory overload or information processing disorders. The same neural architecture that enables extraordinary perception might also make these individuals more susceptible to conditions like anxiety, sensory sensitivity, or attention difficulties. There's also the possibility that hyperperception serves functions that were more critical in ancestral environments than modern ones. In prehistoric settings, the ability to detect subtle environmental changes, read micro-expressions, or spot camouflage threats might have provided significant survival advantages. In modern environments, these abilities might be less crucial for survival and reproduction. Or perhaps we're witnessing evolution in action. Maybe hyperperceptive brains represent humanity's next cognitive leap, a gradual adaptation to a world where the ability to process complex, multilayered information provides competitive advantages. The technology connection: machines learning from superhuman brains. The discovery of hyperperceptive humans has profound implications for artificial intelligence and machine learning. These individuals represent proof that biological neural networks can achieve levels of pattern recognition and sensory integration that current AI systems struggle to match. Researchers are now studying hyperperceptive brains to understand principles that could be applied to artificial neural networks. The cross-modal integration that allows these individuals to see patterns invisible to others might hold keys to developing AI systems with more human-like intuition and perception. Some tech companies have begun recruiting hyperperceptive individuals as consultants for developing advanced pattern recognition systems. Their brains serve as biological examples of the kind of integrated processing that engineers are trying to replicate artificially. But this also raises interesting questions about the relationship between human and machine intelligence. If hyperperceptive humans can outperform AI systems at certain perceptual tasks, What does that tell us about the nature of consciousness and intelligence? The testing, signs of enhanced perception. So how can you tell if you might possess some form of hyperperceptive processing? While extreme cases are incredibly rare, many people have mild versions of enhanced perception that they've never recognized or developed. Hyperperceptive individuals often share certain characteristics. They notice details that others miss. They're unusually good at reading people's emotions. They spot patterns in seemingly random information. They have strong intuitive responses that often prove accurate. They're sensitive to subtle environmental changes, and they sometimes feel overwhelmed in visually complex environments. Most importantly, they often have a sense that they're perceiving something others aren't, a feeling that there's more information available in their environment than other people seem to access. If this sounds familiar, you might possess some degree of enhanced perceptual processing. But it's important to distinguish between genuine hyperperception and normal human pattern recognition abilities. True hyperperception involves consistent, measurable advantages in specific types of perceptual tasks. The only way to know for certain would be specialized testing by researchers who study enhanced perception. These tests involve complex pattern recognition tasks, microexpression detection, and detailed brain imaging to identify the neural signatures of hyperconnective processing. The dark side, when enhanced perception becomes overwhelming. But before you start hoping you might be hyperperceptive, it's crucial to understand that these abilities come with significant challenges. Many hyperperceptive individuals report feeling constantly overstimulated by their environment. Imagine trying to focus on a conversation while simultaneously being aware of dozens of subtle visual patterns, micro-expressions, environmental changes, and emotional cues that others can't perceive. Some describe it as living with the mental equivalent of having superhearing in a world full of noise. The enhanced perception that can be an incredible gift in controlled situations becomes exhausting and overwhelming in complex environments. This has led some researchers to classify certain forms of hyperperception as processing differences rather than advantages. Like many aspects of neurodiversity, enhanced perception can be both a strength and a challenge, depending on the context and individual. The future, understanding the limits of human consciousness. The study of hyperperceptive individuals is opening up extraordinary possibilities for understanding the true limits of human consciousness and perception. If some brains can naturally achieve these enhanced processing capabilities, researchers are exploring whether similar states could be induced or developed in typical brains. This could involve targeted neural training, specialized meditation practices, or even technological augmentation of natural perceptual abilities. Brain stimulation techniques are being studied as potential ways to temporarily enhance pattern recognition or cross-modal perception in typical individuals. Some preliminary research suggests that certain forms of transcranial stimulation might be able to induce temporary states of enhanced perception. But these advances also raise profound questions about the nature of reality and consciousness. If hyperperceptive individuals are literally seeing aspects of reality that most of us miss, what does that mean for our understanding of objective truth? Are we all living in slightly different versions of reality based on our individual perceptual capabilities? The wonder, expanding our understanding of human potential. As we approach the end of our exploration, perhaps what's most remarkable about hyperperceptive individuals isn't their extraordinary abilities, but what they reveal about the untapped potential within human consciousness itself. These rare individuals remind us that the brain we think we know, our everyday experience of perception and awareness, represents only a small fraction of what neural architecture is capable of achieving. They're living proof that consciousness is far more flexible and extraordinary than we typically assume. Whether you're someone with typical perception or rare hyperperceptive abilities, you're part of the incredible spectrum of human consciousness. Your unique way of experiencing reality, your personal relationship with pattern and perception, your individual neural architecture, all of these contribute to the rich diversity of human awareness. The existence of hyperperceptive individuals doesn't diminish typical perception, it expands our understanding of what it means to be conscious, to be aware, to experience reality as a human being. Closing, the hidden layers of reality. So, as you look around you right now, remember this. There are people in the world who are seeing layers of reality in this same space that are completely invisible to you. Not because of technology or tools, but because their brains are wired to perceive connections and patterns that yours simply cannot access. And if you find yourself noticing details you've never seen before, patterns emerging from apparent randomness, subtle changes in the behavior of people around you, pay attention. You might be accessing perceptual abilities you never knew you possessed. The reality you experience is extraordinary, but it might also be only the beginning of what human consciousness is capable of perceiving. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the hidden superpowers of human perception. If you enjoyed this exploration, please like and subscribe for more investigations into the mysteries of consciousness and human potential. And don't forget to share where you're watching from and whether you've ever experienced moments of unusually vivid or detailed perception. I'm fascinated to know how these ideas resonate with minds around the world. Until next time, keep looking deeper, keep questioning the nature of your own awareness, and remember that reality might be far stranger and more layered than any of us realize.